Alex tightened the laces of his worn-out running shoes, feeling the familiar spring in his step as he stepped out of his small suburban home. The morning was quiet, almost unnaturally so. The sun had barely risen, painting the streets with soft golden light. Birds chirped from the treetops, and a light breeze rustled the leaves along the sidewalks. It was the perfect morning for jogging. Alex had started running a few months ago, mainly to clear his mind. Work in the tech lab was stressful, and the constant hum of machines sometimes made him feel trapped. Running through the neighborhood gave him freedom, a time when his thoughts could flow, unhindered by codes or circuits. He loved the rhythm of his feet against the pavement, the pulse of his heartbeat echoing in sync with each step. As he jogged, Alex passed familiar houses. Some windows were still dark. Others showed signs of morning routines. Mrs. Calver, his elderly neighbor, often waved from her porch, a gentle smile on her face. Today, though, the porch was empty. That was unusual for her. She rarely missed her morning tea on the swing. Alex rounded the corner near Maple Street, where a small patch of green separated the sidewalks from the road. His eyes caught something strange. A faint shimmer in the grass, almost like dew reflecting sunlight, but it wasn't dew. It glimmered with a subtle blue light, almost as if it were alive. Alex frowned. He had run this route dozens of times, and he had never noticed anything like this. Shrugging, he continued jogging. The shimmer seemed harmless, probably just a reflection. Yet, as he passed it, he felt a slight tug in his stomach, like the world had shifted just a fraction. He shook his head. "Get a grip, Alex," he muttered to himself. "It's just the morning light playing tricks." Then he heard a sudden gasp. Alex stopped, his breath coming in shallow bursts. Ahead, near the shimmering patch, Mrs. Calver was lying on the ground. One leg awkwardly bent beneath her. She clutched her ankle, her face twisted in pain. Alex's heart leapt into his throat. "Mrs. Calver," he called, rushing forward. She turned her head toward him, eyes wide but alert. "Ah, Alex," she murmured, her voice strained. You're the reason." Alex froze. The reason? What did I do? His mind raced. He hadn't even touched anything. He hadn't been near her. What could she possibly mean? Mrs. Calver's lips parted, and she tried to speak again, but a sharp wince stopped her. Alex quickly knelt beside her, carefully examining her ankle. It was swollen, and she flinched when he gently touched it. "Don't worry," he said softly. "I'll help you." He supported her carefully, helping her to sit up. Her hands trembled slightly as she leaned on him, but her eyes remained fixed on the shimmering grass beside them. You felt it too, didn't you?" she whispered. Alex frowned. "Felt what?" That shift. Right before I fell. Like the ground moved." He glanced down. The grass looked normal again. No shimmer. No blue glow, just ordinary green blades swaying in the breeze. Alex frowned again. Perhaps it was a trick of the light. Or maybe Mrs. Calver's imagination. But something about the way she said it made him uneasy. "Let's get you home," he said. "You can't stay here like this." Supporting her gently, he guided her toward her house. She leaned heavily on his arm, but she murmured almost constantly, muttering phrases he couldn't quite understand. You know, and just like last time." Her voice was soft, almost like she was speaking to herself. By the time they reached her porch, Alex had realized something important. Mrs. Calver had tripped, but not on a rock or an uneven sidewalk. She had fallen right on that shimmering patch, and she had said he was the reason. "Sit down," Alex urged. He helped her onto the swing. The soft creak of the wooden seat sounded loud in the quiet morning. "I'm going to get some ice for your ankle," he said. Mrs. Calver shook her head weakly. "No. Not ice. Not yet." She looked at him, her eyes sharper than before, almost piercing. "You have to see it. The shimmer." Alex hesitated. "See what?" Her hand trembled as she pointed toward the small patch of grass. Alex glanced again. The shimmer was back. Soft, gentle, almost beckoning. His heart skipped a beat. "Mrs. Culver, what is this?" he asked, his curiosity overcoming caution. She closed her eyes for a moment. "It's been waiting. For someone like you." Alex's brow furrowed. "Waiting for me? What do you mean?" She opened her eyes, and for a second, Alex thought he saw a spark of something: hope, fear, wonder. Some things need a human touch. Things the world has never seen before. You can feel it. Alex felt a shiver run down his spine. He was just a tech engineer, a man who liked gadgets and running. He had never felt special, never believed he could influence the world in any extraordinary way. Yet, here was Mrs. Culver, insisting that he was the reason something strange had happened. "I don't understand," he admitted honestly. "I just jog here every morning. And sometimes," she said softly, "jogging changes more than just your heart rate." Alex laughed nervously. He tried to shake off the tension, but the shimmer seemed to pulse faintly, like a heartbeat of its own. Something told him this was no ordinary patch of grass. Something told him his life might change because of it. After a moment, Mrs. Culver sighed, leaning back against the swing. "You should go home, Alex. I'll be fine for now. But be careful. Pay attention. You might not realize the effect you have until it's too late." Alex helped her settle, her ankle supported by a small cushion from her porch. "I'll figure this out," he said, more to himself than to her. "I promise." As he jogged back home, his mind spun. He replayed the moment over and over. The shimmer, Mrs. Culver's words, that feeling in his stomach when he first passed the patch. Something was happening, something subtle but undeniable. Reaching his own house, Alex paused at the gate. The world looked ordinary again. Quiet streets, morning light, the distant hum of early traffic. Yet he knew it wasn't ordinary. Not anymore. Somewhere in the small corners of his neighborhood, a small ripple in reality had begun. And somehow, he was at the center of it. Sitting on his porch steps, Alex took a deep breath. He thought about the possibilities. Was it a natural phenomenon? Some strange plant mutation? Or something else? Something beyond ordinary human understanding? He didn't know. And he had a feeling he would soon find out. The shimmer called to him, not in words, but in an invisible tug. Gentle and insistent. Alex felt a strange excitement building inside him. Mixed with unease, this morning had started like any other. But now, everything felt different. Every step he took seemed to echo in some larger rhythm he couldn't yet comprehend. Alex stood, determined. He had questions, and he needed answers. And somehow, he knew that the shimmering patch, Mrs. Culver's words, and his own curiosity were connected in ways he could not yet see. The ordinary world of his quiet neighborhood had shifted, just slightly, but enough to remind him that even in the calmest places, mysteries could wait patiently, ready for the right person to notice. And Alex had noticed. The next morning, Alex woke up with the sunlight spilling through his bedroom window. The memory of Mrs. Culver's words lingered in his mind. "You're the reason. Some things need a human touch." He couldn't stop thinking about it. What did she mean? Was it just her imagination? Or had something really happened yesterday? Alex dressed quickly and grabbed a notebook from his desk. He had always been curious, always trying to understand how things worked. This shimmer, this strange glow in the grass, was unlike anything he had ever seen. Maybe he could find a logical explanation. Maybe it wasn't magic, maybe it was science he didn't yet understand. He decided to start where it had all happened, the small patch of shimmering grass near Maple Street. He jogged slowly, careful not to disturb the area too much. When he arrived, he noticed it immediately. The shimmer was back. It was faint, almost like a ripple across the green blades, but it was unmistakable. Alex crouched down, studying the grass carefully. He ran his fingers near it, but not touching it. The shimmer didn't fade. It seemed to respond subtly to his presence. A tingle ran up his arm, almost as if the tiny blades were alive. He pulled out his notebook and began sketching what he saw, noting the way the shimmer pulsed. "This is strange," he murmured. "I've never seen anything like this." He glanced around. The street was quiet. No cars, no people. Just the soft rustling of the leaves and the faint hum in the air that he hadn't noticed before. Alex bent closer to the patch. The grass seemed to sway in patterns, almost like it was breathing. The shimmer wasn't just light. It seemed to carry a rhythm, gentle and steady. Alex remembered the small grav field experiments he had been doing in his lab. Tiny devices to test gravitational effects on micro-objects. Could it be? He shook his head. That seemed impossible. The experiments were tiny, miniature, even. How could they affect an entire patch of grass? But then, the thought struck him. Maybe it's not about size. Maybe it's about sensitivity. He had been testing small fields, unaware of their subtle influence beyond the lab. Perhaps the alignment of his experiments, combined with this particular patch of nature, had created something new, something alive. Determined to understand, Alex ran back home and gathered some equipment. He grabbed his small grav field sensor, a portable spectrometer, and a tablet for recording data. Today, he would experiment not in the lab, but here, where the shimmer was. When he returned, he set up the equipment carefully around the patch. The grav field sensor hummed softly, picking up minute variations in the surrounding space. Alex adjusted the spectrometer, scanning the shimmering grass. Light bounced off it strangely, with colors he couldn't fully identify: pale blues, soft greens, almost imperceptible sparks of pink. He watched for a long moment, noting the readings. There was a pattern. Tiny fluctuations in gravity, almost like waves moving through the ground. The shimmer seemed connected to these waves. Alex's heart raced. Could it really be possible that his experiments, combined with the natural environment, were creating these pulses? "Hello, little patch," he whispered, smiling nervously. "Let's see what you're trying to tell me." He adjusted the grav field generator slightly, just enough to test a hypothesis. A faint ripple passed through the grass, more noticeable now. It seemed to respond directly to the changes he made. Alex's eyes widened. He hadn't expected it to be so interactive. For hours, he tested, measured, and observed. Each time he adjusted the field, the shimmer reacted. Subtle but deliberate. Sometimes it pulsed faster, sometimes slower. He realized he could almost communicate with it, not with words, but with patterns of energy. Exhausted but exhilarated, Alex packed up his equipment. He couldn't explain why this was happening yet. But one thing was clear. The shimmer wasn't random. It was alive in a sense, responding to him, reacting to his presence. And somehow, Mrs. Calver had felt it too. The thought of her yesterday made him pause. She hadn't been afraid. She had been surprised, maybe even amazed. He remembered the way her eyes had sparkled with something he hadn't seen before: curiosity, wonder, maybe recognition. Had she sensed what he was just discovering now? As he jogged home, Alex realized he was not just a bystander. He was a participant. The shimmer had appeared because of him. In some way he didn't fully understand, and if he could learn to control it, even slightly, maybe he could unlock something incredible. Back at his apartment, Alex spread out his notes. Patterns, diagrams, observations, all pointing to the same conclusion. The shimmer was responsive. But it wasn't just a simple reaction. It seemed intelligent, like it was aware of him, and that idea made him both nervous and excited. He thought about the neighborhood. What if other patches of grass, or other parts of nature, were subtly affected by human presence? What if humans, through curiosity, movement, and energy, could influence the world in ways no one had noticed before? His mind raced. Humans are special, he thought, not because of strength or speed, but because of curiosity, because of ingenuity, because of the desire to understand and improve. Maybe this shimmer was a small reminder of that. Determined to learn more, Alex decided he would visit Mrs. Calver again. She had hinted at knowledge he didn't yet possess. Perhaps she had noticed the shimmer before. Perhaps she could guide him. He jogged back to her house, carrying a small tray with herbal tea and biscuits, something to make the visit comfortable. When she opened the door, her eyes lit up. "Alex! Back so soon?" she asked, smiling despite her ankles still being slightly swollen. "I wanted to ask you something," he said, setting the tray down. "Yesterday, you said I was the reason for what happened. Can you explain?" Mrs. Calver motioned him to sit beside her. "It's not easy to explain," she said slowly. "Some things in the world are sensitive. Very sensitive. And humans, well, humans have a certain energy. Curiosity. Thought. Focus. You have it in abundance." Alex blinked. "Energy? Yes," she said, nodding. "Not electricity. Not magnetism. Something deeper. When you jogged past that patch yesterday, you weren't just moving through space. You were interacting." And the shimmer responded. "That's why you felt that tug in your stomach. That's why I fell. Not because of clumsiness." The patch shifted subtly beneath my feet. Alex stared at her, stunned. "So, you're saying I caused it?" "In a way," she said softly, "but it's not a mistake. It's an opportunity. Not everyone notices these things. Not everyone can sense the small rhythms of the world. You can. That's why I said, you're the reason." Alex felt a mixture of fear and excitement. Fear, because he had unknowingly caused something strange to happen. Excitement, because it meant the world was larger and stranger than he had imagined. Can it be controlled?" he asked cautiously. Mrs. Calver smiled faintly. "Perhaps, but carefully. The world is delicate, and even small changes can have effects we do not fully understand. Start small. Observe. Learn. Respect it. And remember you are part of it now, whether you like it or not." Alex nodded. He felt a strange sense of purpose. For the first time, his ordinary life seemed extraordinary. Running in the neighborhood, tinkering with machines, observing the world, everything suddenly had a hidden depth he had never imagined. After spending some more time with Mrs. Calver, Alex returned home, his mind buzzing with ideas. He began to plan experiments, ways to measure, ways to understand. But he also reminded himself to be careful. Curiosity was powerful, but respect was necessary. That evening, he looked out his window at the quiet streets. The shimmer was gone for now. But he knew it would return. It was waiting for him. Patient. Like a secret friend, and he would not let the chance pass him by. For Alex, the ordinary morning jog had turned into the first step toward a discovery that could change his understanding of the world and maybe, in a small but important way, the world itself. The morning sun spilled across Alex's small apartment, painting warm streaks on the walls. He sat at his desk, staring at the notes he had made over the past 2 days. The sketches, the diagrams, the scribbled ideas, they all pointed to one undeniable fact. The shimmering patch of grass near Maple Street was not ordinary. And somehow, it was connected to him. Alex had spent hours replaying the events of the previous day. The shimmer had responded to his presence. It had pulsed, it had moved, it had seemed alive. And Mrs. Calver had felt it too. He couldn't shake the words she had said. "Some things need a human touch. You can feel it." He sipped his coffee, thinking. Perhaps the shimmer was a natural phenomenon amplified by his own energy. Perhaps the tiny grav field experiments he had been running in his apartment had somehow extended beyond the lab. But how could a small device affect an entire patch of grass? It seemed impossible. But science was often about the impossible, Alex reminded himself. Determined to understand, Alex packed a small bag. He brought his grav field sensor, spectrometer, a notebook, and a new device he had been building, a microfield modulator. It was still experimental, and he wasn't sure if it would work outside the lab, but he hoped that by testing it near the shimmer, he could learn more. When he arrived at the patch, he noticed it immediately. The shimmer was stronger today. It pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. Reacting to the sunlight and the morning breeze, Alex crouched beside it, careful not to step on the grass. He set up his equipment, placing the sensors around the patch. As he activated the grav field sensor, the readings appeared on his tablet. Small fluctuations, tiny, almost imperceptible, moved through the ground. Alex's heart raced. The shimmer was not just light. It was a response to these fluctuations, and he could influence them. He adjusted the microfield modulator slightly, sending a gentle pulse through the area. The shimmer reacted immediately, brighter now, almost as if it recognized the change. Alex's eyes widened. He had never expected such a direct response. This is incredible," he whispered. "It's like it's alive." For hours, Alex experimented, careful to keep the pulses small. He noticed patterns, tiny rhythms that repeated, subtle changes that seemed to signal something. The shimmer responded to his presence, to his movements, and to the adjustments he made with the microfield modulator. He began to see the connection clearly. The shimmer was sensitive, delicate, and aware in its own way. It was not conscious like a human, but it reacted intelligently to stimuli. And somehow, his curiosity, his focus, his attention mattered. Alex paused to think. Perhaps this was what Mrs. Calver had meant. Humans had a certain energy, an ability to notice, to influence, to connect. And the shimmer responded to that energy. He made a note in his notebook. Human presence plus focus equals shimmer response. Experiment carefully. Observe patterns. Just then, he heard a soft rustle behind him. He turned to see Mrs. Calver walking slowly toward the patch, using her cane for support. Her ankle had healed enough to walk short distances, but she moved cautiously. "Good morning, Alex," she said softly, smiling. "I see you've been busy." "I'm trying to understand it," Alex said. "The shimmer. It reacts to me. And I think, maybe to others too. But I'm not sure how it works yet." Mrs. Calver nodded. "That's right. But it's more than just a reaction. It listens. It watches. It responds to curiosity and intention. That's why you can feel it. And why it responded to me when I was near it yesterday." Alex frowned slightly. "Listens? Watches?" "Yes," she said. "Not like humans do, but in its own way. The world has patterns we cannot always see. Some patterns respond to certain energies, certain thoughts, certain attention. You have the gift to notice, and when you notice, the shimmer responds." Alex took a deep breath. It was a lot to take in. The idea that something as simple as grass could respond to human presence. It was almost too strange to believe. But the readings, the patterns, the shimmer itself, he couldn't deny it. "So, it's not dangerous?" he asked cautiously. Mrs. Calver shook her head. "No, it's sensitive, yes, but it is not harmful. It can be influenced, but gently. That's why I warned you yesterday. Be careful, but not afraid. Observe, learn, respect." Alex nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll try." Over the next few hours, they experimented together. Alex adjusted the microfield modulator, and Mrs. Calver moved near the patch, testing her own presence. The shimmer reacted differently depending on who was near it and what energy they brought. When Alex focused and moved slowly, the shimmer pulsed brightly. When Mrs. Calver approached calmly, it seemed to ripple in waves, like soft water. "It responds differently to different people," Alex noted, jotting it all down. "It's almost like it knows who we are." "Yes," Mrs. Calver said, smiling. "It knows intention. It recognizes attention. That is why humans are special." Alex felt a shiver of excitement. This wasn't just a patch of strange grass. It was proof of something extraordinary. Humans had an influence on the world beyond what they understood. Curiosity, observation, and intention were powers that could interact with nature in ways science was only beginning to glimpse. As the sun climbed higher, Alex and Mrs. Calver took a break. They sat on the nearby bench, sipping water and watching the shimmer pulse softly. Alex realized something important. This was more than an experiment. It was a connection. A quiet dialogue between humans and the world around them. He thought about how much of life went unnoticed. People walked past plants, rivers, forests, unaware that they left subtle marks on the world. But the shimmer, small, delicate, alive in its own way, had chosen to reveal itself. And it had chosen him. "Do you think it will always respond to me?" he asked, curiosity burning in his chest. Mrs. Calver smiled. "If you remember to observe and respect, yes. But it may respond differently as you learn more. The world is full of surprises. That is the gift and the responsibility." Alex nodded. He felt a strange sense of purpose. For the first time, his ordinary life, the jogging, the experiments, the quiet routines felt extraordinary. He wasn't just a bystander. He was part of something larger, something delicate and wonderful. As they packed up their equipment, the shimmer began to fade with the morning light. Alex felt a small pang of disappointment, but also excitement. This was only the beginning. There was so much to learn, so much to observe, so much to discover. He walked Mrs. Calver back to her porch, careful not to step on the grass. She waved him off, smiling. "Remember, Alex," she said. "Observe, respect, and stay curious. That is the way forward." Alex jogged home, his mind racing. He thought about the experiments he could try, the patterns he could study, the ways he could learn from the shimmer. And he thought about the larger lesson, that humans had a special connection to the world, one that required awareness and care. At his apartment, he spread out his notes again. Diagrams, sketches, observations, they all told the same story. Humans could influence the world in subtle, wonderful ways. The shimmer had shown him that even the smallest attention, the smallest curiosity, could create ripples far beyond what anyone realized. Alex smiled. He felt small and large at the same time. Small, because he was just one person. Large, because his curiosity, his observation, and his respect could touch something extraordinary. That night, as he lay in bed, he thought about the shimmer. It pulsed quietly in his memory. A soft reminder that the world was alive in ways he had never noticed. And he knew that tomorrow, when he returned, he would see it again and learn even more. Humans were special, he realized. Not because of strength, not because of speed, but because of curiosity, attention, and care. The shimmer was proof of that. And Alex, in his quiet neighborhood, had just begun to understand how powerful that simple human connection could be. The next morning, Alex woke up with a sense of purpose. The shimmer had shown him that humans could influence the world in subtle ways, and he was determined to understand it fully. He wanted to experiment carefully, learn its patterns, and perhaps even discover if this mysterious phenomenon could have positive effects on more than just one small patch of grass. He packed his equipment once again. The grav field sensor, the spectrometer, the microfield modulator, and a small notebook for recording observations. Today, he planned to stay longer at the shimmering patch and conduct more precise experiments. When he arrived, the shimmer was already visible in the early sunlight, faint but steady. Alex crouched beside it, placing the grav field sensor nearby. He watched the readings carefully as he adjusted the microfield modulator, sending small, controlled pulses into the ground. The shimmer responded immediately. It brightened slightly, pulsed rhythmically, and then settled back into a steady glow. Alex scribbled notes furiously. He could almost see the conversation happening between him and the shimmer, a gentle back and forth of energy, patterns, and pulses. "This is amazing," he whispered to himself. "It's like it's alive, like it's communicating." After a while, Alex experimented with variations. He adjusted the strength of the pulses, changed the timing, and moved slowly around the patch. Each change affected the shimmer differently. Sometimes it rippled like water. Sometimes it shimmered sharply, almost like laughter in light. Then, he remembered something Mrs. Calver had said. Observe, respect, and stay curious. That is the way forward. He realized that his emotions and intentions also mattered. When he approached calmly and focused on observing, the shimmer responded harmoniously. When he rushed or became impatient, the pulses became irregular. This isn't just science, Alex murmured. It's awareness, intention. As the morning progressed, he noticed something unexpected. Tiny insects, beetles, butterflies, and ants began to gather near the patch. They didn't avoid it, nor were they frightened. They seemed drawn to the shimmer, moving gently across the glowing grass. Even a small bird landed nearby, pecking lightly at the ground. Seemingly unbothered by the strange light, Alex's eyes widened. It's helping life, he whispered. The shimmer is not just responding to me, it's affecting the environment. Excited by this discovery, Alex decided to test carefully. He adjusted the microfield modulator to create a soft, rhythmic pulse and observed the reactions. The insects moved more freely, the grass swayed with more energy, and even the small flowers nearby seemed to perk up. It was subtle, but undeniably positive. This could be incredible, Alex thought. If humans can interact with nature this way, imagine what could be done with understanding and care. He remembered Mrs. Calver's words again. Humans have a certain energy, curiosity, thought, focus. You have it in abundance. He realized that his curiosity wasn't just a personal trait. It was a tool, a way to interact with the world. Over the next few hours, Alex experimented further. He found that gentle movement and calm observation produced the most harmonious responses. Quick, erratic adjustments caused confusion in the shimmer. But even then, it responded, as if trying to adapt. The pattern was clear. Patience and care amplified the positive effects. As he worked, Mrs. Calver approached. Her ankle had healed completely, and she walked slowly but steadily. You've made progress, she said softly, watching him adjust the equipment. Alex looked up. I think it's not just reacting to me. It's helping the environment too. Look at the insects, the flowers. Everything seems calmer, happier. Mrs. Calver nodded. Yes. That is the beauty of awareness. When humans act with curiosity and care, the world responds. You are learning to communicate with it. Alex smiled, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. He had never imagined that his morning jogs and small experiments could lead to something so extraordinary. It wasn't about technology alone, it was about attention, observation, and intention. As the day went on, Alex decided to test one more idea. He adjusted the modulator to create a gentle, harmonious pulse across a slightly larger area. Carefully monitoring the shimmer and surrounding environment, the patch glowed more brightly, ripples spread through the grass, and the small insects and birds responded with increased activity. It was subtle, but beautiful. Alex realized that even a single human, acting with curiosity and care, could influence the world in positive ways. The shimmer wasn't just a mysterious light, it was a bridge between humans and nature, a reminder that awareness and respect mattered. This is what Mrs. Calver meant, Alex said quietly. Humans can affect the world in ways we don't even notice. Mrs. Calver smiled. Exactly. That is why curiosity is special. That is why you are special. You see things others do not. And you care enough to act carefully. Alex felt a warm sense of pride. It wasn't about being powerful or strong. It was about understanding, patience, and observation. He realized that the shimmer was teaching him an important lesson. Humans were capable of influencing the world for good, if only they paid attention and acted with care. As the afternoon sun climbed higher, Alex decided to conclude the day's experiments. He carefully packed the equipment and left the patch in its natural state, allowing it to rest. The shimmer faded gently with the sunlight, but Alex knew it would return, patient and waiting. Walking home, he thought about what he had learned. Humans had a unique gift, the ability to notice, to observe, to influence gently. The shimmer was proof of that. And he realized that this discovery could extend far beyond a single patch of grass. With care and respect, humans could nurture and enhance the world in small, meaningful ways. When he reached his apartment, Alex sat at his desk and began writing down everything he had learned. Observations, patterns, hypotheses. Each detail was important. He knew he had only just begun to understand the shimmer, but he also knew that this knowledge was precious. That evening, Alex received a message from Mrs. Calver. "Remember, Alex, curiosity and respect go hand in hand. Never forget the shimmer's lesson." He smiled and replied, "I won't. Thank you." Before going to bed, Alex glanced out the window at the quiet neighborhood. The world seemed ordinary on the surface, but he knew better. Beneath the familiar streets, under the trees, and across the patches of grass, subtle connections waited links between humans and nature that few ever noticed, and he had seen one of them. Alex felt a quiet excitement. The shimmer had opened a door to a new understanding, a gentle reminder that humans had the power to affect the world in positive ways. All it took was attention, care, and curiosity. He knew that tomorrow he would return. He would observe, experiment, and learn more. And perhaps, with patience and understanding, he could help the shimmer and the world around it grow even brighter. For Alex, the ordinary morning jogs, the quiet streets, and the simple curiosity that had brought him here were now part of something extraordinary. Humans were special, not because of strength or speed, but because of their ability to notice, to care, and to act with respect. And the shimmer, patient and glowing, was proof of that. The morning sun rose slowly over Alex's neighborhood, casting golden light across the streets and lawns. For Alex, the quiet suburban world had taken on a new significance. Everything looked the same, but he knew it wasn't. The shimmer, the patch of glowing grass, and his experiments had opened his eyes to something extraordinary. Humans could interact with the world in ways he had never imagined. Today, Alex planned to observe the shimmer not just for himself, but for the neighborhood. He wanted to see if careful attention and curiosity could influence more than one small patch of grass. He gathered his equipment: grav field sensor, microfield modulator, spectrometer, and notebook, and jogged toward Maple Street. The shimmer greeted him as always, faintly glowing under the morning light. Alex approached it calmly, focusing his attention and setting up the sensors. He adjusted the microfield modulator with gentle pulses, careful to maintain the harmony he had learned over the past days. As he watched, the shimmer brightened, reacting to his presence with a gentle, rhythmic glow. Small insects moved across the grass. Birds landed nearby, and even the flowers seemed to sway slightly toward the light. Alex felt a surge of joy. This was more than a scientific observation. It was a quiet celebration of life, harmony, and human connection. He scribbled notes furiously. Human presence, plus observation, plus careful action, equals positive environmental response. The patterns were clear. The shimmer responded not only to his experiments but also to the calmness and care he brought to them. After some time, Mrs. Calver approached, smiling as she used her cane to steady herself. "Good morning, Alex," she said warmly. "I see the shimmer is thriving." Alex nodded. "It's incredible. I never realized humans could influence nature this way. It's subtle, but it's real. And it's beautiful." Yes," Mrs. Calver agreed. "This is what I meant when I said humans are special. Not because of strength or speed, but because of curiosity, care, and attention. That is your gift." Alex felt a deep sense of pride. It wasn't about being powerful or famous, it was about understanding and respecting the world around him. Every observation, every small experiment, had shown him that even a single human could make a difference. He decided to expand his observation slightly. Carefully, he adjusted the modulator to cover a slightly larger area around the shimmer. The grass pulsed more brightly. The flowers lifted their heads, and the insects moved more freely. Alex realized that the effects weren't limited to the patch itself, they radiated outward, subtly enhancing the surrounding environment. "This is amazing," Alex whispered. "I can actually see how one person's attention can create harmony." Mrs. Calver nodded. "And that is the lesson. Curiosity and respect can ripple outward. Humans can influence the world in small but meaningful ways. Every thoughtful action matters." As the day went on, Alex continued his experiments carefully. He tried variations in timing, strength, and rhythm, always observing the shimmer's responses. Each adjustment produced new patterns, revealing more about the delicate connection between humans and nature. The shimmer seemed to guide him, responding more harmoniously when he acted with patience and focus. Alex felt a sense of wonder growing inside him. It was more than scientific curiosity, it was awe. The world was alive in ways he had never imagined, and humans had a special role to play. They could observe, respect, and interact with life, nurturing it gently and thoughtfully. By late afternoon, Alex decided to take a break. He sat on a nearby bench, watching the shimmer fade slightly as sunlight shifted. Mrs. Calver joined him. Smiling, "You've learned a lot in a short time," she said. "I think I understand now," Alex replied. "The shimmer isn't just a patch of glowing grass. It's a reminder that humans can influence the world. For good. That we can make things better if we notice. If we care." "Yes," she said softly, "and that is why the shimmer chose to show itself to you. Not everyone notices. Not everyone acts with care. But you have the curiosity and patience to learn. And that makes all the difference." Alex felt a warmth in his chest. It wasn't pride in the usual sense, it was a deep satisfaction, a sense of purpose. He had discovered something extraordinary, and it had changed the way he saw the world. Humans were special, indeed not because they were strong or fast, but because they could notice, care, and act with intention. As he walked home, Alex noticed small signs of life responding to the shimmer's influence. Birds chirped more freely. Flowers seemed brighter. And even the morning breeze felt gentler. The world had not changed in obvious ways, but subtle, positive changes were spreading outward. That evening, Alex reflected on everything he had learned. The shimmer had started as a mystery, a small patch of glowing grass that seemed alive, but it had become a teacher, showing him the power of observation, patience, and intention. He realized that every human action, no matter how small, could ripple outward, influencing the world in ways most people never noticed. He thought about Mrs. Calver's words, "Curiosity and respect go hand in hand." They had guided him throughout this experience. By staying curious and acting with care, he had unlocked something extraordinary, not just in the shimmer, but in himself. Alex knew that tomorrow, and every day after, he would continue to explore, to observe, and to learn. The shimmer would be there, patient and glowing, a gentle reminder that humans had the power to influence the world positively, and he would not waste that opportunity. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Alex looked out his window at the quiet neighborhood. Everything seemed ordinary, but he knew it wasn't. Beneath the familiar streets and houses, subtle connections waited to be discovered. Humans could notice them, understand them, and act with care to create harmony. He smiled, feeling a deep sense of contentment. Life was full of mysteries, yes, but also full of opportunities for kindness, observation, and gentle influence. The shimmer had shown him that, and as night fell, Alex closed his eyes, imagining the shimmer glowing softly under the moonlight, spreading calm and harmony throughout the neighborhood. He understood, now, that this was only the beginning. There were countless wonders waiting to be noticed, subtle connections waiting to be understood. Humans were special, not because of power, or speed, or strength, but because of their curiosity, attention, and care. Alex felt proud, not just of himself, but of humanity as a whole. The shimmer had shown him what was possible, and he knew that every human had the potential to touch the world in extraordinary ways. The quiet streets slept under the night sky, but Alex knew that the world was alive. It whispered its secrets to those who noticed, and he, with patience, curiosity, and care, would continue to listen. The shimmer pulsed softly in the distance, a gentle reminder of what humans could achieve, and Alex smiled, knowing that the ordinary morning jogs, the quiet streets, and his own simple curiosity had led to something extraordinary. It was a world waiting to be noticed, understood, and nurtured. And Alex, just one human among many, had learned the first lesson, that humans could make the world better, one careful, thoughtful action at a time.